on Equilibrium continues. I'm about halfway through the final polish pass of level 8, so only a couple more levels to do, and it's looking good. I thought this week I would show you another somewhat technical video going over how I create some of the visuals that I showed in a previous video. So a couple weeks ago I showed a scene where the player sprouts a seed and then it sends out a little tentacle, and then that tentacle creates another second round of flowers in the background. I thought I would show how that's set up both in the editor here, and then also the script that causes that growth behavior, which it's a pretty simple script. It shouldn't be hard to go over. So let's see. The first place to start is all of the little purple seeds in the game are prefabs of this score plant template, or instances of this score plant prefab. So pretty simple prefab. It's just a couple spheres and some scripts related to sprouting behavior, which I won't get into all of these exactly, but on the seed script there's a shell object, in this case this outer shell, which gets disabled when the player sprouts the seed, and then an object of all of the secondary content, or rather the sprouted content, which appears. In this case, the sprouted content is going to be a bunch of flowers. So I use Polybrush to paint foliage in the game. It's a package for Unity that's, I think it's still in beta, but you can activate it if you go up to Window and then Package Manager. You can find Polybrush and install it for your project. There's a bunch of packages on here. I haven't used all of them, but I've definitely used the whole Pro Builder suite. So ProGrid and Pro Builder and Polybrush are all very useful. And then once you've got Polybrush, you can set up prefabs that you paint like with a paintbrush. So I have right now just a few, but one of them is this purple flower, which you've probably seen a lot in the videos already. I have the purple flower selected down here, and when I click with the paintbrush in the environment, it creates these purple flowers, and it attaches them to this rock that they're on. So let's see, I'll just do a little scattering of flowers there, put some down there, and then right now in the stage you can see I've got these two rocks set up. I have a background rock and then stage rock, and then under stage rock, all these flowers that we just created are one big list under there. So each of these flowers has a growth node script on it, and growth node is a script that I created, which is really pretty straightforward. It just pretty much if an object has this growth node script on it, when it's activated, it will look in all of its children objects, and if those have growth node scripts on them as well, then it waits an amount of time defined by these variables here, like somewhere between this minimum value and this maximum value, and then it will activate the child after that delay, random delay. So the effect is if we take all of these flowers with their growth node script on them and we put them into this flowers subobject on the original seed that I had selected here, because this flowers object has a growth node script on it as well, it's going to, when you activate this, or when you touch this seed, it's going to wait anywhere between 0.1 seconds and 2 seconds for each of these flowers, and activate them after that delay. And it's not a queue of like it's not waiting for one to complete before it starts the next timer. It starts all of the timers when you activate this flowers object, and so there's this random effect of all the flowers popping in, which looks cool. So I'll make sure that it is disabled so that script works as planned. If you want to see that really quick, this is the script. So I've got these two, the minimum value and maximum value for the timer. They're exposed to the editor, which makes it easy to change those in the particular instance of the script that you're messing with. And then yeah, so like when it's enabled, it sprouts. Sprout activates this object and then looks through all the children, and if they have a growth node attached to them, it starts this sprout child routine. And the sprout child routine takes this child node and it waits a random amount of time based on the bounds defined here, and then after that delay, it sprouts the child. So it's really straightforward. It just has cool effects in the game, which is kind of ideal. There are probably some ways that I could improve it, but this is actually working just fine for what I'm doing right now. So really quick, I'll just show you how this looks in game before we do the next part of the lesson. I haven't done these tutorials before, so this is kind of fun. Granted, you'll have to copy the code to your own project if you want to use it, but you're welcome to it. Okay, so oh yeah, forget what I'm doing. Start playing the game. Real quick, if I go up here, when I get near this purple seed, it's gonna send those flowers out. So pretty simple. Now you know how it works. But the next thing we want to do is send out a tentacle from this seed to this background rock, and then create a second bloom of flowers where the tentacle impacts. So that'll be cool. And it should be pretty straightforward to do. Let's say, so in score plants, I have these models that I use. I got these on like Open Game Art or one of those sites. But they work pretty well for these flowers. So if I make this tentacle bigger and then position it just so, I'm going to try and make it so that this edge of the spiral here actually touches the back wall, just to complete the illusion here. Yeah, touching, that's good. And I might kind of want the tentacle base to be centered around the seed. All the seed will be gone, but anyway, that'll look pretty good. It might not, actually, you kind of want it to be more at an angle like this so that the player can see the spiral when they're facing it. But I think that'll look convincing enough for our purposes right here. A lot of level design is going to be just fiddling around with this kind of stuff and positioning things, and there's always the issue of like, do you want to spend time fiddling with things, or do you want to create a procedural solution that does things automatically? But at least for someone with my programming ability, creating a procedural solution that yields a result that's decent enough, it's probably more headache than it's worth when you can just kind of brute force it this way. So I do a lot of sort of tedious things like positioning tentacles and vines, but it's not too bad, and I kind of enjoy the process. Actually, it's a good way to zone out. Okay, so we have the tentacle in place, and you can see the tentacle also has this growth node script attached to it. So I will place the tentacle in the flowers sub-object of the seed, and make sure it's disabled, like any of the flowers. And actually, I think I want it to come in slightly later than these other seeds. So I'm going to really quick. I'll just parent it to one of these other flowers, or I'll make it a child of one of these other flowers. So I'm dragging it into the first flower, and I'll make sure that I don't forget which flower it is. It's the top one, so it should be easy. And then I will change the growth node bounds for this flower to, let's say, 1 and 2. So this tentacle should appear anywhere between 1 second and 2 seconds after this flower appears. And then after the tentacle appears, we want those other flowers to come in. So I'll go ahead and go back to Polybrush and select the flower that I want. And really quick, I guess I'll just kind of remember where the tentacle was. It was more or less in here. I could reactivate it and be more precise about the positioning of these, but I'm just going to go for it. So we have all those flowers. Grab them all here. Copy, delete. And then I'm going back to this parent flower and then the curly tentacle. And I'm just going to parent all of these flowers that we just created to curly tentacle. And now everything should work. Let's test it. One thing that I've started to think about as I create these arrangements is, you want these sort of interesting little cinematic events. Like when I sprout this, it'll wait a second and then tentacle and oh, okay. So all those flowers sprouted really quickly because I forgot to change the sprout minimum and maximum parameters for the tentacle itself. So all of the children of the tentacle popped into existence really quickly. What I was saying is, you kind of want to dole out, like some of the flowers that you sprout should have tentacles that come out and create secondary growth, and some of them shouldn't. You want some variety there. You don't want the like big fireworks show on every single little seed that you encounter, because I think people will get desensitized to it and it will stop having any sort of value to them. Let's see, really quick, go back to, I'm going to make this 0.1 and not 0.2, and yeah, I guess what I was saying there is, ideally you want some seeds that are like showy when they sprout, and other ones that are just kind of mundane. You don't want that feeling of duds necessarily, but you want the really showy seeds to still have an impact for the player. Now look a little better. Granted, this is all like, most people probably aren't going to really think about this stuff at all. They'll just play through it and it won't matter to them. But I do think that it's cool to have little different reinforcement schedules running in the game, and one of them can be sort of you don't know whether a seed that you touch is going to have a really cool visual spectacle or just something kind of basic. I don't know whether this is basic or really cool, but I like it. So that's how that kind of thing is set up in the game, and there's tons of seeds, so lots of that kind of work to do, and I'm getting close to finishing the first episode, and I hope you play it when it comes out. Thanks for watching. Oh, and just shoot me a message if you want the script for the growth node, or you can just copy it, pause the video and copy it.